world should be a promise of good forage, clean water for future grazing families, and instead it's been used as a bludgeoning device to drive grazing families out of places like Nevada and into places like Argentina and Brazil. Something's wrong when society is in love with the environment and willing to get important information on this important subject from such noted experts as Dr. Meryl Streep. The woman pretends for a living. They got her testifying on agrochemistry issues in Congress. What's she doing there, and what are they doing listening to her? And what Dr. Woody Harrelson, did you see him last summer? Hanging from the Golden Gate Bridge, CNN was out there interviewing him on redwood forestry, like he's an expert. He's a pot-smoking loon. Dr. Ted Turner, just because he once owned the stinking satellite, it doesn't make him an expert on whatever bounces off of it. But when these folks spew their misinformation, disinformation, half-truths, pseudoscience, and an unknowing public, and media prints that crap as the truth, then we base public policy on it. What does society have to run this stuff through to check it for its validity, for its truthfulness? They've got 50 years of Bambi. They've been going to Disney movies so long, they think before you showed up in Iowa, wolves were raising orphan rabbits in Chivalry. They have no idea that in the real world the wolf eats the rabbit. You don't have a party right after that. But they have been told and sold that there used to be this Disney-esque ecotopia, this butterflies flitting in a green field, harmony of nature, balance everywhere. Until at the 20-minute mark in every single Disney movie for 5 stinking decades, what's happened? The bad actor shows up. And who's the bad actor? Who's the destroyer of the harmony and the balance? Man. Man disrupts what should be harmonic. Man disrupts this ecotopia that never before existed. It's not just any man that's not the problem. They have perfected the argument. And some of the folks that helped perfect it were from Missoula, Montana, the Rainforest Action Network. They're the folks that brought America the riots during the WTO discussions in Seattle, their first gathering there. Well, they were from Missoula, and as they were throwing USA Today boxes through a Starbucks window, they proclaimed not man, but capitalism as the problem. Capitalist man is the problem. Capitalist man is destroying the planet, which was a shock to every developing country in attendance. Because you get outside the rich borders of our country and you understand the fundamental reality about the world. And that fundamental reality is that profit is not destroying it, poverty is. Poverty is the leading degrader of Earth. When poverty is driving a nation's bus, the environment's way in the back. Behind food, clothing, shelter, the basic human rights. They're not debating few sheds in Zimbabwe. They're talking about food tomorrow night. Sadly, what we've become in this nation is possibly the biggest threat to the global environment through misguided lockup of our own. Because we seem more than willing to import raw products from developing countries that are long on resources, long on population, and short on cash. Import raw products from them and export to them the environmental burden of production. And they can't afford the burden. It does not make sense to order products in from people that are using methods we quit using 30 years ago and call it green because we don't have to look at it. There's a thin line between environmental sensitivity and environmental insanity. And in this country, we've crossed the line. It's insane when we want power in every single room of our house. We'd like it to be immediate at the switch. We just don't like nuclear plants, we don't like dams, we don't like coal, or fighting the windows in Montana because a bird might hit them. They just like the power to be immediate and cheap. Click. They love things like roads. It's just rocks getting crushed and asphalt plants that they don't like. They just like the freeway to be wide and safe. They love the food. They like it to be colorful, plentiful, safe. It's just pesticide management, nutrient management, turning dirt and that kind of crap that they really don't like. They just like the food to be abundant and cheap. They love wood. People have been using wood like never before. It's just stumps that suck. How did we get so crazy? If we're going to save rural America, we have to understand how we got to the point where where we cross this line into insanity of the things that are so important to our future. And I go back to the 60s. Remember them? My age group has a little trouble with the memory bank in that year. We might not have inhaled, but we ate the entire plate of brownies. And now we're in leadership. To me, the most important thing that happened to us in the 60s, the important thing for rural America, for people in timber and people in agriculture, is we got TV. And we pushed that boob tube in the living room close enough to the dining room so we could watch Walter Cronkite while we ate. And for the first time, you didn't have to live someplace to know what was happening there. I was a kid in Montana when the Cuyahoga River caught on fire and burned for a week through Cleveland. You guys remember that? I do. I wasn't very old, but I remember looking at TV thinking, man, rivers ought not to burn their bridges up. Maybe we should have a law against that. You didn't have to live in Pennsylvania to know the Lake Erie was dying. We got to watch the fish swimming around side up every night. You didn't have to live in LA to know their air was turning purple. We got to see it together. And then from the eyeballs of a humanoid in a spaceship almost to the moon, we got to see our little blue ball called Earth from a distance. It was kind of bobbing along in blackness. What happened in the 60s is we figured out we have one planet. We are only getting one planet. And some of the stuff we were doing needed to stop. We joined the Factor and Spirit, an environmental movement. It was designed to get some laws on the books to take care of home, Earth. And we got laws like the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, Endangered Species Act, a couple dozen major pieces of legislation designed to take care of home. And we empowered groups like the Sierra Club and Audubon, and if one didn't exist, we invented one. A friend of mine started Greenpeace. He was an ecology student, a forestry student at the University of British Columbia, and he didn't like the atom bomb dropping on the Bikini Atoll. So while he was getting his forestry degree, he and a buddy started Greenpeace. I was the leader of the first Earth Day in my town. My family still calls me Mr. Green Jeans. We empowered these groups, and we wanted them to help us get stuff on the books, and they did. But the groups and the laws are 40 years old.